Our group chose to do our project on interracial relationships within the U.S. And many of you may be thinking, well, interracial relationships are okay. Why are you doing a project on this? And the fact of the matter is, racism in our society is still a problem. We see this across the board, but especially because we live in the South, it's a little bit more prevalent. When desegregation became a movement back in the 60s, Alabama really was in the limelight. We were the state that was known for being the most racist, the most incompassionate towards blacks, and we were pretty much looked down upon by all the states that knew that, it's not okay to treat any human beings the way that we treated the slaves. Because we live in the state that saw a lot of these changes happening, we thought it'd be appropriate to choose the movie Hairspray. Hairspray set back in the late 60s and focuses on how desegregation affected young adults in America and how different types of people reacted to this desegregation. Our first article we chose was the association between media exposure of interracial relationships and attitudes towards interracial relationships. And this ties in well with the movie Hairspray because in the movie, all the kids dance on a show. It's called the Corny Collins Show. And this represents America Bandstand back in the 60s and 70s and how America Bandstand desegregated and it made it almost okay for teenagers to interact in that way together. Our second article, How Race Matters and Does Not Matter for White Women in Relationships with Black Men, focuses on the couples as individuals. They sit down and do interviews with the person writing the article, and basically one of the themes across the board was people in interracial relationships act differently at home than they would in public. Sometimes they pretend they're not dating each other in different parts of town because they're afraid of the reactions they'll get. And we see this in Hairspray. A lot of the times when the kids are all hanging out together, they go to different parts of town. They don't hang out with the whites, they go to the primarily black part of town. And sometimes they walk in different groups depending on where they are. If they're in the car together, some of them will duck. Thankfully, racism isn't as extreme as it was back in the 70s, and we don't really have to deal with ducking in cars and hiding from police and not telling our parents who our friends are. But racism is still happening, and it's happening so subtly that we don't call it out and we don't address it. Even in just my article with my friend Squid and her boyfriend Josh, she made the comment that if she's in public and Josh comes up to her, store clerks will just assume that they're not a couple. And that's such a small problem to have, but it's still a problem because we just assume that whites and blacks don't mix. And so somewhere in our brains we decided that that's not normal, and it should be. Our third article was based on a study done that evaluated how people in interracial relationships viewed each other depending on what their environment was. And the findings were that people in interracial relationships develop a double consciousness. Basically what that is that they have a different mindset at home than in public. We see this idea of a double consciousness in Hairspray, and it's portrayed by the way that the kids are dancing. When the kids are dancing on camera, they're a lot more formal, but when they're at their house, or I should say, when they're in the black neighborhood, they dance more freely and they dance the way they want to dance. And so I guess that's kind of a way of showing that they don't want to live up to what society says is okay, and in private, they don't have to. To wrap everything up, Hairspray may seem like it's an old story that we keep harping on, but it's still very relevant for today. And as we progress in the project, I hope that you see that and see that, interracial couples are still dealing with society and how society doesn't accept them. And it may be in small ways, but it's a problem that we need to solve and a problem that we need to address.
In our article, How Race Matters and Does Not Matter for White Women in Relationships with Black Men, 17 white women were interviewed, 12 of which who were married to black men at the time, 5 of which have been before. It talks about how differently being in a relationship was being in public and being in private in our homes. While being in public, women feel out of place by other white women, and black men felt out of place by other black men in public. While in their own privacy at their homes, they don't look at color, they see each other as husband and wife, and they love no matter the race. Most of the women have dealt with some negative stereotype that has made them feel out of place and isolated. This study shows that race may or may not matter depending on who you are and where you are.
What's your name?
Kristen.
Are you or do you know someone who is currently in an interracial relationship?
I know several people that are currently in interracial relationships. Most of my family is.
And have you ever been in an interracial relationship?
I have, but none have been like super serious. They've just been kind of casual.
Were you treated any differently than if you were dating someone in your own race?
I honestly wouldn't say that there was any difference that I noticed.
How would your family react to it?
Like I said, nothing for me has ever been super serious, so I never like introduced them to my family. But considering that most of my family are already in interracial relationships, I really think that they'd be okay and accepting with it.
Did you have a positive or negative experience while casually dating?
I would say positive, I guess. It was good.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
There's no reason not to.
Alright.
The association between media exposure of interracial relationships and attitudes towards interracial relationships summarizes a study conducted by Claremont Graduate University in which the scientists try to answer the question, does media exposure of interracial relationships affect attitudes regarding interracial relationships? The test was administered online to 218 whites, of which 87% were female. A few of the variables tested include exposure to media and various outlets, personal involvement in interracial relationships, attitudes towards blacks, and attitudes of interracial relationships. The test included many questions about variables being tested and was scientifically analyzed using tools such as regression. The study concluded that participants with high media exposure to interracial relationships, as well as personal exposure to interracial relationships, had affected attitudes towards the relationships. However, since this is not an experiment, it's just correlation, we can't make assumptions on whether this positive relationship exists.
What are y'all's names?
I'm Megan.
Michael.
And are you or do you know someone who is currently in an interracial relationship?
I know somebody that's in an interracial relationship.
Yeah.
I believe I do too. Yes.
All right. Are you willing to do so?
Oh yeah.
Should I
Would your
stop this?
parents approve of you interracially dating?
My parents, yes. My grandparents, I'm not sure.
What about your?
My parents, yes.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, how old are you guys?
18.
19.
All right.
Well, thank you.
No problem. What's your name?
My name is Sheila Wright. I am your aunt.
Yes, you are. How long have you been in an interracial relationship?
For 22 years.
And has it been a positive experience?
So far, yes.
Have you been treated differently than you were with a member of your own race?
In this relationship, better than I was in my previous relationship, which was with someone of my own race.
How did your family react to this relationship?
At first, my sister, which is your grandmother, seemed to be okay. My brother was the one I was worried about, and he ended up giving me away at my wedding because our parents died when I was young, and he felt like that was something he needed to do for them, you know. And since then, he and Sean have grown to be good friends. I mean, we go fishing with him and meet him for dinner and things like that. So I think it just took a minute to see he's just a person. You know, there was nothing wrong with him. So, and you know, when my mother was alive, her best friend was a black lady, and she was like our grandmother. So we weren't really raised around all that. But it's different when you're with someone from a different race than when you are close to them, like a friend or a family member. So that's how, you know, but it's okay now. Everything's okay now.
Yeah, I love him. Have you been treated differently in public by some people?
Sometimes, you know, people will look and
But you don't
I
really
can't
care?
really say what I would say, but yeah, it doesn't bother me. I don't care, you know, because I know what my life's about, so.
Hi, I'm Soya, and I'm doing Article 3 on Humogamy Outlaws.
What are your opinions on the article?
I agree with the lady because I fight fire with fire.
What are some of the points that stood out to you?
Yes, they do have more different times in public than at home.
All right, do you have similar experiences?
No, because I never dated outside of my race.
Okay. How long have you been dating and how did you meet?
4 years.
And we met at South, actually through my roommate. They went to high school together, but we were also in band together.
Has anybody treated you differently because you are an interracial couple?
No, not really. I mean, sometimes if we're out shopping, like if I'm paying for something and he comes up behind me and just stands there, they're like, oh, can I help you? Instead of automatically assuming that we're together. It's happened before.
What about your family? Do they treat you any differently? What were their opinions?
No. I mean, the first day that I brought Josh to meet my mom, she hugged you. Well, she asked if she could hug you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh's parents are actually interracial as well, so it wasn't an issue.
Do you think it would be easier to date if you were in the same race?
God, I've never thought about that. I don't think it would really be any different. Yeah.
Okay, do you think it's easier for you, Josh, because your parents are married, interracial, as opposed to squid?
I'd say it's about the same as any other relationship for me.
Hi, I'm Jacinta Watkins, and I'm summarizing Article 4. The title of the article is I Wouldn't But You Can, Attitudes Toward Interracial Relationships.
What are your opinions on the article?
I think the article was very interesting. It kind of hit home. I've never dated interracially, but I had a white friend once, and we had just became friends like a couple of weeks prior to me letting him visit me. And when he came over to my house, he tried to kiss me, and I was disgusted. Like, I don't know why. I don't think it was just because he was white. I think it was just because we had just met.
What are some of the points that stood out to you?
Some of the points that stood out is how people feel like it's okay for someone else to do things, but they're really not cool with doing it themselves.
Do you have similar experiences?
I don't have similar experiences because I've always dated within my own race, but I'm open to dating outside of my race if I wasn't engaged right now.
Hey guys, my name is Brianna and I'm 20.
My name's Ruben and I'm also 20.
We've been dating for about a year and a half now, and for me personally, there's only been about one negative thing that I've experienced while dating someone not the same race as me, and that's just about my dad not approving of the whole, black-white thing. What about for you?
Just like one look at a restaurant, that's about it.
So yeah, pretty simple. But I would still do it again, no matter what. So, thanks guys.